Welcome. This lesson introduces and illustrates three types of stylized sentences, styles that are super common in essays, but take some skill and practice to form perfectly. By learning these styles, you will increase your repertoire, the stock and skills of the kinds of sentences you can write and sometimes speak, to improve your language skills at the sentence level. Come along and learn these three styles of sentences so that you can perform them perfectly in your composition essays. The scriptures are penned in a style appropriate to the subject matter. Sometimes it is a fine style for a high matter, as Psalm 45 envisions. My heart is pondering a noble theme. I speak of matters made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. The author of this royal psalm says the pen of his tongue is ready for his high theme, writing in a clear and graceful style. That is our goal too, to write clearly and gracefully, matching our style to the subject matter. Here are the instructions for the stylized sentences. Write two stylized sentences in your essay with the following formal features. Further, highlight the two sentences in your paper so that the instructor can easily spot them. When attempting style, write one example of two or three different styles in your essay. First, write a compound sentence joined with a semicolon plus conjunctive adverb. 2. Write a compound sentence starting with an elliptical adverb clause. And 3. Write a compound sentence with correlative conjunctions. A mistake is to write two sentences of one style. Rather, you should try one instance of the two styles, or you can try writing all three different styles. These stylized sentences focus on the shape of clauses, or syntax as style at the clause level. Each writing unit has different types of stylized sentences, so the styles change from unit to unit. Did you notice that my instructions illustrate what they require? They practice what they teach. For example, my instruction sentence at the title of the slide is styled as a compound sentence joined with a semicolon plus conjunctive adverb. Moreover, you'll read these sentence styles in the Bible and other important literature. The first type of stylized sentence is a compound sentence joined with a semicolon plus conjunctive adverb, a very common style that all writers should learn to perform perfectly. A compound sentence has two independent clauses, joined or linked in a variety of ways. One way is to use a semicolon followed by a conjunctive adverb. A semicolon has two uses. It can function as a soft period or a strong serial comma. Which use does the semicolon have in this stylized sentence? Well, yes, its use is a soft period. The semicolon functions as a soft period, and it also indicates some relationship between the two clauses in the compound sentence. A conjunctive adverb, yes, that's a big clunky word, and it's a logical conjunction like therefore, thus, consequently, as a result, furthermore, finally, similarly, moreover, however, and nevertheless, these kinds of words. Conjunctive adverbs are logical transitions used at the argument level or paragraph level, while coordinating conjunctions are sentence-level logical transitions. Therefore, writers use conjunctive adverbs carefully, often immediately after semicolons, to signal real logical progress in an essay. Let's read some good and bad examples. Example 1. Write a compound sentence. Moreover, use a semicolon plus conjunctive adverb, as this sentence illustrates. Example 2. Most people do not realize that writing is a craft, semicolon, thus, comma, they waive their apprenticeship. Here's an example from the sample essay. Standing up, I felt peace and new excitement, as if starting the Christian life all over, semicolon. However, comma, unlike Ebenezer Scrooge, I had not waited until I was old to change and serve the Lord. So that sentence from the sample narrative essay is a fine example of the stylized sentence. Well, what's wrong with this example? Writers often join compound sentences with a semicolon plus conjunctive adverb, comma, accordingly, comma, this style signals that the two clauses have an intended relationship. Well, as you notice, instead of a semicolon, Right after the word adverb and before accordingly, there's just a comma. And what that does is create a comma splice, which is a type of run-on sentence. Well, now you try. And after you try, ask your neighbor to check your work. I've written some guidelines in very small print at the bottom of the slide if you need them, but first try to draft the stylized sentence based on the pattern and without referring to the directions. Go ahead and try. The second type of stylized sentence is a complex sentence starting with an elliptical adverb clause. Elliptical means that something is left out, normally the subject of the adverb clause, but the subject is easily inferred by the reader. A complex sentence has at least two clauses, a main clause plus some subordinate or dependent clause. An adverb clause starts with a subordinating conjunction, words like after, although, because, since, unless, when, and while. These kinds of words start all adverb clauses. To form this style, one starts with a subordinating conjunction, follows it with a participial phrase, part of the present progressive tense, for instance, and then expresses the implied subject in the subject position of the main clause. This style adds flow and concision to your writing with carefully crafted clauses. Let's read some good and bad examples. Example 1. When writing a sentence, you can form an elliptical subordinate adverb clause. Do you notice what's missing? Yes, the subject you is left out, but is easily implied by the reader, and so you can leave it out for concision and flow. Example 2. While drafting or revising an essay, one should write stylized sentences for the sake of variety. Do you notice what's left out? Yeah, in the adverb clause, one is left out, but is easily implied by the reader, and so you can leave it out for the sake of concision and flow. Example 3. Although not a morning lark, he wakes up early every morning to read the scriptures. Well, what's missing? What's elided? Well, although he is not a morning lark, so the subject and the verb is left out of this one, but is easily implied and clearly stated in the subject position of the main clause, and is easily inferred by the reader, and so it should be left out for the sake of concision and flow. In the sample essay, and this is a sample narrative essay written by a student, when remembering my mean words to my mom and others, I now cringe with conviction. Well, what's left out? Well, it could be written more fully, when I remember, or when I am remembering my mean words, but the subject is implied and can be left out for concision and flow. Well, how about two bad examples? Let's take a look at these and try to determine what's wrong. While reading on a beach, a pelican suddenly startled me out of tranquility. And so what's the matter with this sentence? Well, in this first bad example, who exactly is reading on the beach? Well, the pelican is reading on the beach according to the grammar, and that poses a logical and narrative problem caused by the dangling participle. Well, the logical principle is that the same grammatical subject must be the actor of both clauses, the adverb clause and the main clause. So what is implied in the adverb clause needs to be stated explicitly in the subject position of the main clause. So the grammatical subject must match and work in both clauses. In other words, the subject of the main clause must be capable of performing the verbal participle in the subordinate clause. They must match or be the same in a sentence with an elliptical adverb clause. So let's rewrite the bad sentence like this. While reading on the beach, the woman was suddenly startled out of tranquility when a pelican swooped her head. Now this sentence makes grammatical and narrative sense. Well, how about the second bad example? After drawing or after drafting a sentence, a subordinating conjunction is used to form an elliptical adverb clause. Well, in the second bad example, who or what is drafting the sentence? Well, the phrase subordinating conjunction is drafting according to the grammar, which is a logical and narrative problem, partly caused by the passive voice is used, and partly with the dangling participle, drafting. Well, to correct the sentence, I need a character capable of performing the verb, the participle, in the adverb clause. So let's rewrite the sentence like this. After drafting a sentence, the young man used a subordinating conjunction to form an elliptical adverb clause. Well, the character young man makes all the difference in writing this sentence correctly. So now you try. Again, I've written some guidelines at the bottom of the slide, but try the stylized sentence without referring to the directions, and you can ask a friend to check your work. The third type of stylized sentence is a compound sentence with correlative conjunctions. A compound sentence is composed of two independent clauses with any attached modifiers, and they are connected in various ways with appropriate punctuation. In form, correlative conjunctions come in pairs, such as not only this, but also that, either this or that, and neither this nor that, but this other thing. Correlative conjunctions are used to connect grammatically equal clauses and phrases. They are easy and fun to use, but also easy to misuse if the parallelism breaks down. Well, in function, correlative conjunctions not only create balance, but they also express emphasis. Let's read some good and bad examples. Example 1. Write not only a compound sentence, but also form one with correlative conjunctions. Example 2. Draft neither two instances of one style, nor two styles in one sentence, but draft two sentences illustrating two different styles in your essay. Now here's an example from a sample student essay. My parents thought I was a good kid, but I knew better because I avoided work and thought of helping neither my parents nor my neighbors. In this example, the neither nor is at the phrase level, but it is also a compound sentence. So it technically meets the qualifications of compound sentence with correlative conjunctions, although the correlative conjunctions don't separate two clauses. Well, let's take a look at two bad examples, and can you figure out what's wrong? First, writing can be reduced to neither mechanics or grammar, but it involves a high degree of invention, development, and style. So what's wrong here? Well, yes, the neither is followed by only or, when it should be followed by nor. So we would correctly write this as neither mechanics nor grammar. How about the second bad example? A writer crafts two basic kinds of argument. One establishes truth, or one establishes value. So here there's no correlative conjunctions, but it should be written, and it would be written better like this. A writer crafts two basic kinds of argument. One either establishes truth or one establishes value. And that's a great sentence emphasizing the two basic kinds of argument. Well, notice that each correct example is a compound sentence joined with correlative conjunctions, and that's what you should try for. And if you use neither nor, notice that you also need a sentence or phrase starting with but, because there's three elements if you use neither nor, neither this nor that, but this other thing. Okay, so now you try. Now you should be able to write 2 or 3 different stylized sentences in your essay. Remember to highlight them, please, so that they are easy to notice. 1, a compound sentence joined with a semicolon plus conjunctive adverb. 2, a complex sentence starting with an elliptical adverb clause. And 3, a compound sentence with correlative conjunctions. And if you try all 3 styles, you will have the best odds of forming at least 2 perfectly, right? Finally, what George Orwell wrote always applies. The great enemy of clear language is insincerity. Thanks for attending. See you next time.